The thing with the stuff is the technical.
Yeah. The thing with the stuff. Yeah.
Is that how you came up with this whole concept of alien worlds, Michael? You were just thinking, I'm going to build the thing with the stuff.
Of course.
Isn't that how all great ideas happen?
So welcome back to another episode of NFT Game Day on Fridays, where we interview some of the coolest and most interesting projects in the NFT and gaming space. And we're super excited to have Michael back on the show, who last joined us, I guess, for the first week of the Dackathon.
I don't think I've joined you. Maybe, I was on the Dackathon, if you count that.
Yeah. So you've never actually been on one of our dedicated shows, but we had you on, I think, to talk about the lore maybe behind Alien Worlds, and I can't quite remember because there was a few of your team members that came.
It was a long week.
Yeah, it was a really long week. So yeah, we're super stoked to have you here. I mean, there's some really cool stuff going on. I mean, that we kind of want to get updated on. I mean, of course, like the game's been just rocking it. Potentially, even taking down the whole Wax blockchain. We're not really sure. We've kind of laughed and joked about that, but a combination of what's going on with the Uplift, Alien Worlds, a few other projects, MLB tops. Like, it's people keep mailing us and being like, is it us, or like, is it our computer, or is Wax like slow? And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure Wax is slow. I'm not really sure what's happening, right? But
yeah, I mean, it's not Wax necessarily. It's a lot of different individual services which run around Wax. The blockchain itself is absolutely fine. It's just ticking along nicely. Yeah. But then there's the APIs which have to ingest a huge amount of data. Like, it's crazy the amount of data that just comes from that, because every transfer, every action that happens on chain is generating all these actions and data. So that's what's having trouble keeping up. The Wax Cloud wallet has had a few issues as well, but they kind of seem to be on top of it at the moment. It doesn't seem so bad these days. I think they're pulling that together, and it's good for the chain as well, because everybody, we go this next step, everything breaks, and then everybody fixes everything. So,
well, ideally, that's what's going to happen. So
it's not going to get worse, put it that way. Everything gets stronger over time. It's just we have to be here during the teething period.
Yeah. So I guess Corey's gonna throw up some gratitude. So you have the honors, Michael.
Yeah, I'm totally bogarting right now.
Okay.
I mean, I'm grateful for what we wished for has happened. They say be careful what you wish for, because it might just happen. And I think we're in that situation at the moment, so can't complain.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said I'm grateful for Alien Worlds and DAOs. I was at my first ever cryptocurrency convention yesterday. Got to hang out with Max from Crown, like literally all day. It was awesome. Got to, of course, meet Ken Bozak in the real, which was bananas. And we spent a lot of time, talking about Alien Worlds and sort of the underlying, philosophy of it, and the different ways that you guys are breaking ground significantly in the space that's going to become a genre. Like, it's going to just become the way that some things are done, which is super fascinating. So yeah, I'm grateful for Alien Worlds, and I'm grateful for DAOs. And DAOs, like, I don't know that much about DAOs, and I want to talk about this show, Yeates, if you're cool with it. But like it Alien Worlds to me is like my training ground for that, right? Like, you have all these different possible things. I'm really, really grateful for that. Anyway, I gotta write down your gratitude, and then we can get into all that stuff.
I think you're up, Michael.
Yeah, you were saying you're grateful for what you wanted to happen actually happened.
Yeah, they say be careful what you wish for, and I think what we wish for is kind of coming to fruition. It's not quite there yet, but I think we're definitely on our way to seeing the vision come alive.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Obviously, I'm really happy that you're here. I'm really happy that you joined us. But I have to bogart this gratitude and throw it out to our community leaders in the Telegram channel. I'm grateful for the Uplift community leaders. Those guys have been doing a stand-up job putting in tons of hours, answering people's questions, which I'm sure you're familiar with, Michael. You know, we wouldn't be able to do what we do without them. And I'm sure it's likely on your end as well. So maybe, you know, our community leaders, but community leaders in general on all these projects. I mean, you really make
they're the front line, and they're the ones that actually, you know, when we scaled up, it was incredible that we need to like go and just hire them by the bucket. For, you know, we had a couple, and I was in the Telegram early on, and then that was the first thing that kind of really needed to be scaled up. So you guys, for when you scale up and when you become big, you need to make sure that, you know, you've got enough people in Telegram and they're all answering questions and they're well trained. And
yeah, we've been spending a lot of time thinking about this, and we're bringing people on now. Just to try and get in front of it a little bit.
But I think we take a lot of, like, I know Corey holds you, and I do as well, like in really high regards. Like what you guys have done, he kind of mentioned, but what you guys did in the space, like from the beginning when you first launched, and how you went about it, and how you, like, you know, changed the narrative and added this like new complex dynamic that nobody had ever seen before in gaming, and even bridged, like from way back in the day, bridged that. And you went from that to having like your token essentially listed on Binance now. Like that's pretty huge, coming from like the wax space. So like congratulations, like you guys really deserve all the praise that you get.
And all in such a short time as well, you know. 3 months from launch of the game. So yeah, I think Sarah is probably the most responsible for that. I think she's put a lot of work in. We had a lot of meetings, and we had a lot of early morning meetings because it's China, so we have to be up early. And it's taken a lot of our time up until now, which is why we haven't been so forward. We've got a lot of announcements and new software and releases to come up, which we're kind of just stockpiling behind. So I'm going to start working on that now to get that through. Yeah, it's been an unusual year so far.
Yeah, in all things. So. Corey, did you have something you wanted to say about the DAOs and the DACs?
He left.
Oh, he left. Sorry, I was off the screen. He left. He just left. Somebody says, "Hey, welcome back." Did you?
My dog decided something was very, very wrong with somebody outside and started like losing his poor little mind. So we had to have a little conversation. We're good now.
Fair enough. Yeah, so I think, like, for people who don't know, I guess you got your start into DACs or DAOs, you know, with the EOS DAC back in the day, right? And if I recall correctly, that was the first DAC or DAO that was ever created on the EOS blockchain, and it went on to, like, you know, field a bunch of other projects, DACs as well. Which was quite impressive in itself. But what I like what you did with the idea is how you kind of built it into the gamification of the 6 planets, right? Because now you're going to have basically all these planets who are going to be governed by a body of people who are staking or owning land, you know, to that. I guess staking, because you can own land and stake to a different planet. But yeah, so they're staking their tokens to that planet, and then you have that gamification of the DAC or the DAO, I guess, in this case. And I think that's really cool. And I know, like, Corey's been talking about this for a long time. Like, he's super excited about when we get to the point where we can have that kind of organizational structure. So I don't know, Corey, like, if you had any questions or if there was anything you wanted to say on it.
So some of the conversations we were having yesterday around Alien Worlds and the DAOs, like, obviously, like, the game is awesome and working, and I still feel like we've only seen the tip of the iceberg of what you guys have planned, which is very exciting, obviously, right? Like that, because I was like, we're getting to that point so much with the uplift, so I know you guys must be like, it's going to be way more. So I'd love to, like, get any hints that you know where you guys are headed next or whatever. But, like, around the DAOs specifically, there was a lot of conversation around the idea that you guys had built this game literally to educate people about DAOs. So could you maybe speak to whether or not that's true, or to what extent that is true or not?
Yeah, it's true. It's
So I just said that's fucking fantastic because it's a bit like that's like deep altruism, right?
Yeah,
like to me, anyway.
DAOs are a very esoteric thing, you know. They're unless you actually interact with it and run it and use it, it's kind of a little bit hard to understand. Maybe you vote, but then you don't really understand the deepness of it, and very, very few people actually get to be involved in a DAC or a DAO. And I think, you know, the numbers are probably, you can count 30, I guess, 30 people around that have actually used a DAO or use it daily. So yeah, by creating 6 of them, we kind of bring it out to a lot more people. And the gamification kind of removes the business aspect, which I think a lot of people are a little bit afraid of. They don't necessarily want to get involved in something dry and boring. So having games and NFTs just seem like a perfect fit. But yeah, it's definitely an educational tool. And we want people to experiment with it as well. And the more people we can bring in, the more different ideas that we can have, and we can try to implement those ideas, because there's no wrong ideas here. You know, everything is right, and we're just building that framework. We don't necessarily have all the answers. Yeah,
the tools, that's amazing. And it was a huge part of the conversation we were having yesterday as well about around you know, governance models kind of period, and the fact that, you know, there will be all sorts of different use cases. You know, we're going to have probably a good dozen worlds in the uplift, and I don't know what the best governance model is for them. Like, we're making best guesses and sort of creating as good of a global architecture as we possibly can, but we're going to be launching, you know, DAOs per map that are going to have their own budgets as quickly as we possibly can, because they're going to know themselves what the best thing is. And also they will iterate, and some will do things that work really well, some will do things that work less well, but then we get to that point where we're iterating quickly and organically, so that we can actually, and again, like, more people practicing the thing and doing the thing, so that it, to your point, it's not this esoteric sort of abstract concept, but it's a thing that you're doing that has, you know, real world economic impact, but it's just like, you know, the goofy stuff that we're doing in a video game.
Yeah, and I'm sure that some of them are going to fail. They're going to try something a little bit different, and it's really not going to work out, and that's fine. It's totally okay. Because we need to see what doesn't work as much as we need to see what does work, and not everything. Like, if we ran through it and everything was perfect, I think we'd be less well off than if we had a little bit of bumps along the way, which is kind of expected.
I think that's a really strong way to frame it. I like to you know, the way I've been thinking about it for myself, and you know, I share this with anybody who's even remotely interested, is like, I give myself permission to fail. Just fail fast.
Yeah, right? Of course. And as long as you learn from that, and the next thing that you do is stronger, then, you know, most successes are built on top of failures. There's always, you just never hear about them because they fail.
That's true. So yeah, survivorship bias for sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, Jimmy, what are you thinking about all this craziness?
Yeah, I mean, I actually used the EOS DAC as part of like the Vigor DAC and a couple of other things, and I was thinking about just kind of what Michael was saying about the fact that, like, most people wouldn't necessarily understand it until they had a chance to use it, and it's interesting to me because even beyond the wax or the EOS space in Ethereum, this has been a big thing. It's like, you know, people. It's one of these things that people hashtag, but they don't really know what it means, right? And like, sometimes it's not all, you know, unicorns and stardust. Like, when you get in there, then, you know, depending upon how it's set up, you've got, like, you could have 10 people who all have 10 different opinions. Like, and you got to figure out like how to do it, right? And so I like the idea that you guys are kind of bringing presence to the idea. And allowing people to be able to play around with these structures in a gamified way. I think that's much more of an educating experience than just saying, oh, look, these guys are a DAO or these guys are a DAC, and like, let's trust that it works. Or if you're lucky enough to be a part of it, then you can see that it works for yourself. Because that's kind of, to me, like, you know, what normal governments are, right? Like, the majority of people that we might understand how governments work, but like, we're never going to experience it, right? And so I think you bring up a really important point that by putting these structures into games, people can play around with them. People have a better chance at, becoming a part of it than just a project. And they have a better chance at understanding it. And if they understand it, then, the world and the value that they provide is better. So I think that's a really cool concept.
Yeah. I mean, we do believe that it will go beyond the game, but we have to actually, find out what a good solution is. And maybe there's going to be 10 or 12 different styles of DACs and different ways of running them, or maybe there's just one way. We don't know yet, so we need to just work that out first.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, it's all about making decisions as groups, which is obviously a major problem for people. Everybody has to do it, right? We all have to have some sort of shared resources which we allocate with agreement of everybody, or at least a majority.
Right.
So it's a common problem, and I think it will go on to the more of a business level, which is kind of what EOSDAC was. EOSDAC was a business which was run as a DAO. So yeah, it's all stepping stones towards what we see as a much, much, much bigger goal.
Right.
This is along the way.
And so I think I'm correct in saying that the Alien Worlds DAC will use the EOSDAC software. Is that correct?
Yeah. We're actually using it unmodified as well. So there's a way that you can extend the software. So there is certain extensible parts built into the EOSDAC software, which means that you can change voting, you can change a few other bits and bobs. And I think we'll learn as to what people want to change, and then we'll build that into the core software so that in future other people can modify it in different ways.
Right.
So it's totally possible that somebody could take over a planet and then insert new code, which would then change how the votes work. Maybe the votes work based on how many GPK cards you have, or they could do anything, really.
I can totally see the Crypto Monkeys people doing that.
Go on.
Yeah.
I was talking to
yeah.
I got to hang out with Max from Crown yesterday. And I've talked to him so many times. The first time I ever met him in real life, and it was a pure joy. And so you're talking about their CXX and or CSX, sorry, and Crown or Max are thinking about governance and what they would do with the planet, what have you. And I think one of the first things they were thinking about doing is, I think it takes 3 votes to basically run stuff, right? Or that's sort of the way that the DAO's initially going to be set up. And the first thing they wanted to do is just increase it, right? So it seems like that would be one of the things that you could do is basically, okay, we all vote that instead of 3 people, it should be 7 or something.
Yeah, totally. That's one of the kind of built-in parameters that they can change quite quickly.
Okay.
And yeah, with EOSDAC, we have 12, and then we have 7 as a majority, which is required.
Okay.
The Crown, I believe, has a higher number. I'm not sure. I think they have a much higher threshold as well. And then there's Vigor as well. Vigor has 21, and then they have I think quite a low threshold, so it's 7 or 5 or something. So this is the kind of first level experimentation that I think a lot of people are going to do.
So it was interesting, right? Because when I was on the Vigor, I think they had 21 and they needed 15 or 11 or something, but it got to the point where that was sometimes too many. So they actually had to lower it, right? Because there's things that could expire and things like that as well. So I think finding that balance is good, right?
I think it should be over 50%. But what that actually is, I guess it depends on each DAO individually. The Ethereum DAOs, they have the token-based voting. They don't have the representative voting, which we have. And I think that basically means a higher threshold and a higher number of users. So it kind of makes it very difficult to come to a decision, whereas when you have this representative, it's kind of a little bit quicker to move.
So I have a question, how the DAOs work, the planetary DAOs in the Alien Worlds game. So the vote is based on how many tokens you stake, right? So why did you guys decide to make it about how many tokens you stake as opposed to who owns land on the planet?
It's a good question. and it's just kind of how we have always done things, and it's definitely a very good question as to whether we could change it to have landowners voting for the council on that particular planet, and that's one of the things that I probably think we should experiment with.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't complaining or thinking. I just thought it was interesting to me that you went that route, because like potentially you could own land on one planet then, and you could stake your tokens to another planet, and you could like be the governance for another planet, but have your land on one planet. And I think that's an interesting dynamic as well that you guys that could potentially happen.
Yeah, I mean, actually, the land concept and the importance of land came a little bit later on. It wasn't like the first thing that we did. We didn't say, okay, there's landowners and then there's going to be the voting. It was like there's going to be the voting, and then we kind of had the land later. And the landowners, they do have some kind of veto powers within the government, because the government or the council can change certain parameters which would make the landowners less better off. So we're planning to have a veto, particularly with changing the amount that goes towards mining. So it could work either way. Yeah, I think it would be interesting to see a planet where the landowners are the only ones who get to vote. It could disenfranchise everybody and reduce the staking down, and then that would reduce the mining, which would then make the landowners worse off. So there's definitely a balance there, because you need to attract stakers, otherwise you don't get any income.
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah, what's that dynamic? So like if like I'm staked, I have a few staked to Cavian. I'm thinking about helping this other team in their political endeavors, which is like, if you told me like 4 months ago, like, hey, you're going to basically live in Minecraft and you're going to become a politician on the interwebs, I'm like, what? No.
Possible in crypto.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's definitely Lisa's comment about good morning unicorns and stardust. Like ordinarily that would sound like hippie dippy bullshit, but now no, basically it's just true, which is fun. So I don't really understand just personally. I know that information's out there, but whatever you can speak to this would be awesome. So if we increase the staking total on Neri, like if I did that, right? If I took my little bags or whatever, like what would be the driving force for me to do that, either for myself or for collectively?
So each planet earns a percentage of the daily inflation, which is roughly 1 million trillion.
Okay.
It's a decreasing percentage of the current pot, but it's roughly 1 million per day shared between the planets. And the proportion that each planet gets is based on its proportion of the staking. So the total staking, you divide your stake by the total stake, and the percentage of the output that you get.
Nice.
So if you stake more if you removed everything from Cavian and put it onto Neri, that would increase Neri.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I got to figure out, like I have one piece of land left. And I still, to this day, like I gave one away as a present. I thought I was being really cool. Freaking two cars worth later. I'm like, wow, that was a pretty good present. And I sold one for what I thought was a steal a couple months ago. like the one I have now, like I'll be dead. You're not gonna pry that out of my hands for anything.
Yeah, I bought an island. I forget what I paid for it, but at the time it seemed like everybody was like, "Oh my god, what did you just pay? You're crazy! You just
yeah."
But I think now it seems like quite a good deal, because the Veli's Islands are pretty exclusive.
Right.
There's not many of us who own those. So
that's awesome.
Best place to party.
That's what
I mean. I remember like when Corey, kind of first became like an Alien Worlds like degen in a way, like, and I think it was like around like Christmas or some holiday, and his missus's parents were down, and like he got them playing Alien Worlds, and he was just like, like talking about like how all of these, people were playing the game and loving the game. But then I think, didn't you say like you mentioned how much like you had spent or at that point on land, and that was crazy, and that was like nothing compared to what it is now. Right?
Yeah, well, and it wasn't. It was like less than $100 a piece, right? Because I got them right at the beginning. Like secondary market, I'm like, I think I paid 150 for one. I'm like, whoa, right? Like, what is it, like a gazillion times more than that now? But yeah,
and
watching
it was kind of lowball us when we did the sale, because remember it was a decline.
Yeah, the Dutch auction. Yeah,
everyone was like, "Oh no, you're not going to sell out to the last minute, and we're going to like really, really lowball it."
Yeah. Except no.
It's funny because there's probably a bunch of people who like went through it and just like, screw it. Like, you know what? I'm just going to buy it cheaper on the secondary market. And they like, well, it's going to come down. I mean, it's going to come down. So, like,
well, and like I was talking about this morning with Greg, like trying to sort of suss out, of course, like the normal crypto markets they're taking a little break, right? Which again, like going through last cycle, this is nothing new. And so that's fun, but like, trying to map out, and I don't even know if it's useful, right? Because there's so much speculation involved and we don't know what we don't know. Like eventually land prices across the metaverse have to stabilize, but I couldn't tell you if that was a year from now or like 10 years from now, right? Like we just don't have any idea. Like, I don't know. I mean, presumably it's going to map a little bit to the crypto cycle, but like we're turning fiat rails on before too long. So like, they're not.
I mean, you can't predict anything,
right?
Just, I've got my land. I'm not going to sell my land.
That's exactly.
Decent chunk, and I'm going to hold on to that. I think it's good at the moment.
Agreed.
And it means I get to play the game. I get to be involved in the game, because I thought I would be involved a lot more in the game than I actually am. I thought I'd be playing it a lot more, but unfortunately, I spend most of my time building the game, not actually.
Yeah, I've been suffering from the same situation. I had was it yesterday? No, it was the morning before. I woke up at 5 and like was actually like, super awake. I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. So I get into the office and I'm like looking around and like there's nothing like super emergent. Like usually there's like a bunch of incoming over the night or whatever. There's nothing going on. I'm like, I'm just gonna go build some shit. I just went in that building that's up there now is working on that. And it was nice, but it's like that's the first sort of 45 minutes that I've had to mess around in the uplift in like a week and a half.
I think we're hiring some Minecraft builders. I heard something the other day. I think we're definitely looking at bringing on, I think, 2 people who are going to start building stuff in our sector.
That's good.
I mean, you guys have already got a pretty good damn start in your sector.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't believe we're not over there right now. I'm going to go get the
coordinates. I've never seen it because I
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's really good.
It's really good.
It's really good.
I keep hearing about it, but I've never actually seen it.
Yeah, I'm just hopping over the 2D map and I'll get some coordinates for us.
Can you not teleport there?
I can.
You can.
Which is why I'm just picking up some coordinates. But yeah, most people would have to take the rail or hike.
I have some rail as well. I have a pack of rail. Awesome. Should I have opened it by now?
Yeah, maybe. Like, so we need to go over this, Corey, because this question was in the Telegram. So this is a good opportunity for us to do that. So we actually have probes going out for the land sale, and in order to be able to use those. Probes for the land sale on the Genesis only map, those land packs need to be opened, right? Because if you have the 3 of the 10 land pack, that's not land, that's your right to get land. And once you open them, then that land will be deposited. You can't probe a pack of 10 land is what I'm saying. So anyway, back to your question, Michael. For the rail, you don't have to open them. I mean, there's no expiry date on them. And like, if you want to use them in the game, then you're going to have to, right?
But I have to enter the game to use them or open them.
Yes. So if you have a 3-pack of land, for example, when you open that, what it will do is it will assign you three different NFTs that will be set to 3 different locations in the map on a couple different sectors. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you don't have to be in the game for that to work.
Yes.
I can do that outside of the game. That's fine. Yes. I have issues running the game. I've got some. I have some exotic software here, and Minecraft doesn't necessarily run on it. So.
Oh, hey! I just realized that I'm not sharing my screen. What a freaking derp!
But I guess this brings up another that's really cool. That's a great entrance way.
Wait for it.
Who built all of this?
I think it was EOSIO Michael, man.
Yeah, it was Michael. Yeah,
and like
really
the scale of this is kind of shocking.
Yeah, he did an excellent job. Just wait till you get inside.
It looms over with some sort of evil presence.
Yeah, it does.
But it's like it is the community gathering place of all community gathering places in the game, man.
It's really well done.
Freaking awesome.
I think it's gonna get used a lot too. So there's like tickets because they're gonna do like a roller coaster ride that's gonna go past a bunch of monuments and stuff. It's like the plan they have is really good. Of course, Lisa from Crown has her little coffee shop here, which is adorable. But the Cabal is one of like the first groups that started really kind of messing around as a collective. So they've got kind of their own
lounge.
Yeah, they've got the Cabal lounge over here. And I mean, we're going to figure out like really cool gamification things. Like, and that's one of the things we're adding on in the near term, right? From the Uplift side is like different ways that communities are going to be able to interact and provide value in specific places like that, right? Like there's some interesting things that we're going to be able to do there. But yeah, like, like a little ticket booth. So you'll be able to come down here and you'll be able to like click a sign and like, I want one, punch a sign, get a ticket.
Corey would show you how to do that, but every time he does it, he ends up
breaking shit. Yeah, I'm not because I'm in creative. But then I think before too long we're gonna have it so that we'll have the invisible barrier here, so you can't get in here unless you have that NFT, right? Like that's not very far off. So like those tickets will actually be functional, which is fun. And then of course you
can have a landowner only section.
Yeah, right. And so like you'll have to actually get one of those NFTs from the dispenser. Which is fun, and that'll be working pretty soon as well, and then that'll actually give you access to this roller coaster that's going to go all over the place.
That looks like a very scary roller coaster.
Well, not right, yeah.
Under the ocean, but yeah, like I think it's going to be really interesting to see how people, because that's the thing, like this is Alien World, so I'm sure you're going to have a lot of people coming and checking it out just because it's so monumental. And then they're going to be like, oh, wow, look at the space. Like, why? Let's use it. Let's talk about our governance on Cavian in one of these rooms, for example, right? Like,
yeah, I like the idea of having the Cabal specific room, and then maybe you can have one based on which NFTs you own. People who've owned the X Dimension, maybe they get something special within here.
And again, hats off to Michael, because like this is
I think
amazing. It really is epic.
I think he's driving it. I think he's the one who's working with the guys that were employing them. I think maybe they're the builders.
Yeah, he's been talking about that.
Yeah,
he definitely has the right direction for where this can go. And yeah, you can like, this is one of my, it's goofy, but I love coming up here. Like I can fly and I still like climbing up to the top of the roof. Just like, I'm at the top of the roof.
Can everybody fly?
No. Well, everyone in Genesis can fly right now.
Yeah.
Not 100% sure if that's going to stick around or if we're going to kind of nix that. Everybody in survival cannot fly like at all.
But you can fall off the roof.
Oh yeah, but you can't die though. Not in survival you can. You could die, that is.
Well, you see how much Minecraft noob I am.
Yeah, man. Like I've played like maybe 3 or 4 games in my life. For an extended period of time until I, got bored or I beat them. I'm not really a gaming person, but like I got into Minecraft. I was like saying for a week, I'm not really a gamer. And then like I got lost, I think, for a month. And now like, yeah, I guess I'm a Minecrafter. I don't know if I'm a gamer though.
Yeah, you're doing stuff like crazy.
I'm not even sure if like, I like it, but that's the thing, right? Like, I think it's interesting to see what creative things that people come up with, right? Like if I was in charge of the Alien Worlds plot, like I wouldn't have thought to build a giant Megatron. Like I right? Like it wouldn't have even crossed my mind. And never mind putting like rooms inside for various conferences for planets and stuff like that. Like it's just it's amazing how creative people can be with the mythology or the the game pieces that they're given, right?
We have a sunken Statue of Liberty as well.
Yeah.
This is all Michael. Michael's really good at. Like,
I'm not gonna lie. I'm the one that sunk it, but
really,
it just seemed like the appropriate thing to do. Oh, this is new.
Yeah, this is I know what this is, but I'm not going to spoil it.
Oh, listen to you. All right, cool.
I like how we're kind of changing definition of games as well.
Right.
You know, games always used to be like on Nintendo. That was a game, but now it's like it can be almost anything as long as it's like a more of a pastime than a game. And you know, Alien Worlds is considered a game, but it's actually
it's much more
basic. You know, it's not the kind of thing that we're used to with games.
Right.
Someone in our Telegram said, "Oh, this is terrible. This is like Tetris from." And I'm like, if you're comparing it to Tetris, I'm really happy.
Right? Exactly. Like that. Yep.
Please compare us to like iconic world-changing games as much as you can.
Are you thinking to get Michael to put another gratitude monument up on the Alien Worlds plot? Because I think that would be a really cool idea.
I mean, I'd throw gratitude up if you did that over there for sure.
Yeah. And I like so that's the thing, right? Like we have it in our mindset what things should or can be, right? And I mean, I was the same way, right? Like Corey actually said to me on a stream, and he wasn't wrong. He said to me on the stream, he's like, I kind of like, I have a request, but like, can I just kind of like, can I just kind of say, can we just stop calling this a game? And he's right? Because of exactly what you're saying, right? It is, in a way, it's a game. You're on here, you're playing games. But hey, am I in the game? Am I trying to ride the roller coaster? Because that's usually what it looks like.
Yeah, right. I'm like, what's happening? I'm terrible right now. I don't know what's happening.
So, but like you make a really good point, right? Like, I mean, yeah, it's a game, but it's not. This right here, what you're looking at is a bunch of communities coming together, which is a metaverse, and like yours is almost like it. I don't really know what to call it, and I don't want to do it any disservice. But like as an educator, and hearing what you said earlier with like, you know, the mechanism of DAOs behind it, like it's an educational tool in a way, right? Like it's a community building educational tool. Like if I ever go back to you know, stateside or America or to an English teaching country, like I will make my students sign up for Alien Worlds and try to take over a planet. Like that will be my curriculum.
Right. That's a whole economics course in you know, at universities now.
Yeah. I mean, I like to call it simulated economy.
Yeah, fair enough. That's good.
For a long time to stop people calling it a metaverse. And I agree as well. I don't think metaverse is definitely right. It's metaverse is something else, whereas we're kind of a little bit different. So
yeah.
But the problem is people like to name things the closest to what they're used to, and that kind of stuck. So we got called a metaverse.
Well, I'm totally okay to refer to it from now on as a, you know, a simulated economy. Because I think that's absolutely awesome. If I'm honest, so
I keep thinking about this too. Like, I think I might just turn it into a metaverse, because I've heard we could target those NFTs however we want.
Yeah, that's the key. You can do whatever you like, and eventually we will have no say in what you do within it. That's the kind of the end goal. When we have very little say in what happens is when it's really kind of
like how this is Brave New World shit to me, right? Like we're you know, you guys are building this kind of amazing new simulated economy, and you know, wrap it in a game and teach people about DAOs and yada yada yada, right? Like all this crazy shit. And on the back end of that, you're like, yeah, we're actually, you know, really striving and working towards losing as much control over this as we possibly can. And that's just like well, like no coiners or people that like they just no content.
Really don't like losing control. I've spoken to a few people and they're like, "You're crazy. Why are you?"
You're not. Like, if I may be so bold, you are so not crazy. It's a beautiful thing.
They get out of control if you don't control them. So
yeah.
And I think it's funny too, like that's the definition of winning in your space with what you're talking about right now, right? Like with the DAX and the DAOs, it's like how do you know you've won? Well, we've won when we've lost total control. Like that's
right.
Yeah, when it's kind of off on its own, there's not much else we can do or need to do.
Right. Like it's a thing that exists in the world and is doing the stuff with the things.
And I mean, even I'm not saying this will happen, but even if the whole thing crashes and burns after you've lost control, like you've still won because you've proved that like it can be done, right?
Don't lose control again.
Yeah, you can bootstrap another one. You can start over. People learn from their mistakes. They
exactly.
do that, right?
It's quite easy. You can even take the same Trillium token and say, right, this is it for the new game, and then make a new one.
Yep.
You don't have to lose everything. You can just lose certain sections of it and replace them.
Well, that's the whole. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that was it.
Yeah, it's like the thing that gets me the most excited about decentralized like 6+ planets, whatever it is, right? And having those ideas, having the ability or the chance to iterate out, some even like I don't think any of them will fail because there's too many ways to sort of like pull up from a nosedive.
Mm-hmm.
But some will do better than others, right? And that's then they become the standard. Some of the other ones will learn from that or continue being less relevant. And it just gets better and better. Like what this looks like. Well, let me ask you this. What do you think? Just like rampant speculation. What does this look like in 5 years? Or like maybe better yet, if you could wave like a collection of magic wands, what would be the absolute best possible outcome that you can imagine for 5 years from now?
I think if we have planets which are generating additional value beyond the trillium that they are receiving, like they can multiply up the value that's created and be successful and harmonious and be like a example of how we can run these for other things, then that would be a success for me. That's what I'm really looking for, is to take this concept further. I'd say in 3 years we should be looking at having something that we can take a little bit further and go to maybe businesses and maybe larger communities and say, either come into the alien world universe as your own community, we'll give you a planet, and you can kind of run it within the game, but be kind of separate from the game.
Yeah.
Or we have this way for them to be able to bootstrap outside of the game itself and say, look, this is how we've done it. This is how it works best. And just have a lot of experimentation and end up with something where value is created. Because you could just take the trillium that's earned and you could just push it back to the stakeholders and you could reward them that way. But that's actually not creating anything new. Whereas if you had people creating NFTs, or you could say, if you stake to this planet, it gives you some rewards within Uplift World.
Yep.
That kind of thing is what I'm really looking forward to, is where people kind of add on top. And if you can have more people also contributing towards how things should work. At the moment, it's just us saying, okay, this is how voting works, this is how the DAOs work. But if we can have other people coming in and giving their own ideas and modifying the software to their own ideas, I think that's a win as well. Because, like I said, we don't know everything. We're just putting this framework together that people can work to have their own ideas.
Yeah, I have been thinking about this nonstop since about 4 o'clock yesterday. And I love the way you framed it, like the staking to each particular planet, or what have you, right? Like the once the governance DAOs are up there, they're going to be able to decide how much landowners are getting. They're going to have a few levers to pull, which are fun. But to your point, the real experiment should be, okay, how do you use that governance structure or the framework, as you said, the framework that you guys have created to create way more value? And maybe the way I love to think about stuff, just brainstorming or whatever, not like a little bit. Is it possible for us to somehow double it? Yeah. Right. In some or 10x it, just some, what's the ludicrous version of this where, that framework has obviously produced value in organization and community and a really cool incentive structure, yada, right?
Yeah. And we have the people, we have the manpower for the
right.
There's plenty of people around,
right.
but they should be able to contribute extra value towards this system. They shouldn't just be sitting as bystanders and absorbing everything that comes out. They should be putting stuff back in as well.
Yes.
And then be rewarded themselves. People who contribute back should
right
proportionally more than the ones who don't. So That's what I'm looking for, is a good functioning economy.
Right. So as I am both an Alien World super fan and an Our Planet degen, maybe that's something that could happen, right? Because like everybody in the space has just a metric ton of NFTs, and that is growing continuously. So maybe we could map the amount of NFTs, like basically just like borrow from our planet, whitelist some particular things or whatever. Like if you have a particular number of particular types of CryptoMonkeys NFTs as an example, you might earn some voting power from that instead of from staking the Trillium itself, or as an add-on or double or
you could boost
buff.
Like if you have a legendary, you could get 4 times your
right. Yeah, something crazy. And I mean, one of the things that we're going to be doing here, we're launching the rewards plugin pretty soon for the Uplift, which I'm excited about, but way more excited about the sort of full beta version. And we're going to have, buffs. Like we're going to have a bunch of Aether that is going to be getting, mined by playing and whatnot, and wax as well. So there's going to be all these different things that you can find in world, and like we'll do pack drops and stuff that are increasing the amounts or types of things that you can sort of earn or find in the Uplift. And I think there's gonna be lots extra, right? And so like that would be a whole other thing. Like between those and the Genesis NFTs that we have and that will be continually coming out, like the Uplift itself is going to have that kind of thing that we can do. But like every project is like that, right? Like you might not be using your Exit Limbo cards right now, and like those guys are amazing, right? And so it's a fascinating way to basically lock up the supply. Like sometimes, I mean, that's what Our Planet is crushing, right? Like they're locking up the lower end supply of every project they touch, and that makes the price of those NFTs go up. Like the base rate for Uplift Art NFTs doubled like within a week and a half of getting listed on Our Planet. I know that's happened to a lot of different people. So like I'm looking at all these like successful projects. Like they're showing the tools that are going to work, right? Like these are the things that are going to be in the toolbox that you can pull off the shelf and throw some duct tape on it and hopefully iterate enough to create value.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, I'm afraid I have to run. I'm a little bit late for another meeting.
All right, man. Thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm really sorry.
No, that's quite all right.
An hour early.
We're really happy that you came, and please come back at any time, because I think this was a really special one for us because we got some really cool insights. So thank you.
No problem.
Okay. Yeah, and come back soon and tell us all about how the battle stuff is going to work.
Everyone is looking forward to fighting.
I mean, I got a bunch of abundant NFTs. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just looking forward to that. Just
getting killed and smashed up.
Maybe. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Ciao.
That's a great screenshot. I think we're probably going to wrap it up a little bit early too, because I'm actually going to go live on air for our first episode tonight, Corey, with Sean Bellant. We've got a pretty fun one. We're just going to maybe do this weekly or bi-weekly. We've entitled it "To the Edge of Obscurity and Back" in 45 minutes or less. That's like we're just gonna go on live, and we're gonna deal with people in the comments. We're just gonna mesh it up because we do that in private conversations. It's super fun. So why not bring it to the people? So it'll be airing on this channel this time. We might push it to other places later, but if you're around, please drop in around 10:15ish. 10:15ish 9 Eastern Standard Time. However, before we do drop off the stream, Corey, just a couple things that I thought maybe we could clarify for people who are still out there. They have questions about the probe event, and I think I actually have a question about the probe event that I don't have an answer to. So I'd actually like to ask you that, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So in the demo that we watched, you're not able to send a probe to a location that's not probable.
Right.
It doesn't work, right? Correct. Now my question is, I'm guessing that even if you don't have land, even if you don't have a land key, you can send a probe. And somebody asked that today, and they said, well, what happens? And it's well, I mean, even if you're first, you don't have the land key, so you're not going to get awarded that land. You know, because you don't have the land key in your thing, so it's gonna, like, you can't be awarded a land key just because you have a probe doesn't mean you can get land if you don't have the land key, right?
That's right.
So I think the question kind of came up. What happens if somebody does that? Because this is a Ken Bozak question, right? Like,
yeah, no, I mean,
what happens if they're first? Like, there's a second.
So here's
person?
the thing, like, this is interesting. I mean, like, caveat emptor, we're not going to do anything about that, right? Because it's like those kind of exceptions. If you're doing that and you don't have land, it's entirely on you.
Yeah, and it's your loss because
there's people buying them apparently on the secondary market. Fine, but
yeah,
if you did that and you had a baller spot,
yeah,
well, now you'd be like, hey, listen, like, I'll sell this spot, like do OTC or something. Like, if I did that, right, and I got a spot right up front, but I don't have any land and I don't have any money to buy the land, although I'd probably be thinking about fucking doing it at that point, right?
Yeah.
It's like if you got like one of the 200s or something, you go and buy the freaking land. You figure out how to do it. You cut whatever deals you need to do to go get it because you got something really amazing, right? So that's kind of interesting at that point. Or, you know, I go to, you know, Jimmy and say, Jimmy, like, I have this, I probed it, I got it. It's kind of magic where this is. You know, do you want to buy this from me?
Okay, so my answer actually in the Telegram channel today was a little bit wrong because my speculation was a little bit wrong. So there will be a window after. That makes more sense to me. There will be a window after the probe event that, because you can send out more probes than land you have, right? And at that point in time, you'll have to choose which location you want to set. You want to set that probe to, right? I guess is how it works.
Yeah.
Which piece of land, right? So maybe you win like 5 pieces of land, but you've only got 1 piece of land. Then you're just gonna have to decide which piece of land you want. And then those other pieces of land, will they go to the next person on the list or will they go into the random pool? That was the second question.
Okay. I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?
Sure.
Hey, I'm at, hold on. I am at 1,400 to 3,500 Genesis. And there's nothing here. I want to confirm that's actually where I am, so I didn't screw it up. You know what? I did it wrong. My apologies. 1,400, 3,500. Let's use better mathing. 1,400, 3,500. Let's figure that out. Okay. Sorry. Could you repeat that?
Yeah. So the question is, let's say I have a probe and I send it and I win all 5 land pieces that I'm fast, like I'm super fast. And my choices were really good. And my 5 probes go to all 5 land pieces that I send it to, and I get the rights to those land pieces. Okay.
Uh-huh.
But I only have 1 piece of land. So I'm going to choose 1 piece of land to set my probe to, but there's still 4 other pieces of land that I have a probe for. Now, in this case, at what point do I lose the right to that land, right? Like, because like
you lost, you never had it. You never had it. Right. So here's what so if you don't have land and you don't claim it, you've locked up that position. Right. And again, like, I don't recommend this. This seems like a terrible thing to do with your probes. Like, if you do one, right, like, totally. And this is the thing, like, people can screw this up. Like, this is gamified and it was on purpose.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you can do this wrong. Especially if you're like, I have 5 probes and 1 piece of land and I'm going to fuck around and try and get 5 pieces of land. It's not going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to accomplish anything.
Right.
So, you know, use your brains. And so, and again, like, we're not going to suddenly make ourselves responsible for that. So what's going to happen is, if they do that, it will lock those things up at the end of the claim period, right? Which is the next day. Anything that isn't claimed goes into the randomized pool and just gets distributed.
Right. So I guess that's what I was going to say. Right. So yeah. So the amount of time that you have is till the end of the claim period, which is about 24 hours, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So now, yeah. Right. So I'm not going to say anything else because there's other things that I'm thinking, but I'm not going to put them out there to the community. That's for no. I mean, like, that's for you guys to figure out, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. So I am sorry, what was I going to say here? You did have a question. So me having land keys, I can be beat out by someone that don't have land keys. I guess the answer to that is yes, you can. That's part of the gamification behind it.
Could you repeat that? Because that didn't make any sense to me, but I might have confused it.
So me having land keys, I can be beat out by someone that doesn't have land keys, right? Yeah, if they beat you with the probe, you can be
if they want to waste their probe on a nothing burger, we can't stop that. It's silly. This is really awesome, by the way, Jan. Like,
yeah, that's really cool.
This is really cool. And I'm really excited that the sun is going to be like just straight up.
It is really cool. Yeah. So my answer in the Telegram was a little bit different, but I think I answered the majority of it correctly. So I just wanted to clarify that. So thank you for taking that time. That's really cool. I really like the green steps actually.
Too. Yeah, this is pretty cool. I love that sometimes on our show it's just like dead silence, like just we're ogling the insanity. Like this is just like some psychedelic shit.
Yeah, like it makes me want to be more psychedelic in life.
I know, man. I was so jealous.
But that's
Ken Bozak. No, Ken had more fun than I was responsible, and I came home and it made me sad.
No, it's all right. Like you got to meet Ken Bozak, and I got to put a sign on the sign that said, Corey's grateful to meet Ken fucking Bozak. So that is great on a lot of levels, right? Like that, It was fun. 100. And I mean, having you drop into the roundtable, if you're on our channel, you won't find it because we do an exclusive over on the Crypto Writer channel. But you can go over to the Crypto Writer channel. You can check out our roundtable from yesterday. We had a really cool panel of guests, and I watched it back. I haven't been watching our episodes back because I don't have time. But I wanted to watch that one back because I felt like I had made a mess of it. But actually, it was hilarious. It was one of our funniest episodes, and everyone was laughing. Everyone was having a good time. Like just having that group of people there with Joe and Sean and Jillian and you and Ken, and like the humor in the room was just brilliant. It was one of our funnest episodes by far. Like I just remember like when I disappeared, everyone busted out into laughter. Right, like like we threw up a picture of Ken, which you'll have to go and watch the stream. Everyone busted up into laughter. Like it was like you and like one of my favorite moments was actually like you guys talking at the back of the classroom and like just busting out into laughter. Like it was like some really good stuff.
It was a lot of fun. Is Lars from another planet? He might be. And it's basically a creativity planet. So I'll tell you guys right now, I'm gonna do something with Alien Worlds in the Uplift. I'm just gonna do it. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet, but it's going to be fucking fantastic. Just want to throw that out there. I have decided.
Yeah, I mean, and there's no reason not to. I think
right.
So
like, and talking to Max yesterday, and Yeates confirmed all of my suspicions today.
Yeah.
Like, how do we create more value for that space? Well, we can do it, right? Like, your little NFT cards that say land on them. Well, we can make them land. Hold on.